Well, hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is yours truly, Neil Angel. I'm president of Financial Learning Center. We are now officially FinLife, and we are one of the preferred partners for First Sun EAP. And we are here to help people who are going through different financial issues in their life to hopefully provide clarity and a path forward so that you can make informed decisions. And I'm excited to have with me today a guest, Kathy Milano. Now, what makes Kathy special is that she specializes in working with people who are going through divorce, and specifically, she helps them to sort out the financial fallout of divorce. So, we're going to be talking about what advisors like her, certified divorce financial advisors, add to the whole process and talk about some of the ways that people get tripped up in the divorce process that ends up costing them a great deal of money. Kathy, welcome. Glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much. This is exciting.
Yeah. So, Kathy, tell us a little bit about how you got into this as a divorce financial advisor, and tell us a little bit about what CDFAs actually do.
I started when I got divorced. I knew something was going on and he was cheating and all that stuff. So I decided that I would find an attorney, and I lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee at the time. And I asked other people, who do you recommend? Well, if you go see an attorney about your divorce, it blocks out the spouse. So he traveled Monday through Friday. So when he got back into town, he'd go see an attorney. They'd say, well, we can't talk to you. Your wife's already been here. So I blocked out all the good attorneys. So he ended up with the leftovers. So that worked quite well. And Marvin was my attorney. And when it started out, he had a girlfriend and all that stuff. But so I said, let's just split everything. You give me $5,000 because he made more money than I did. And that's it. Well, then it turned into this big to-do. And my attorney called me one Saturday morning after it was all said and done to tell me what the judge had decided. And he kept reading all this stuff off. And I finally said, Marvin, are you making this up? He says, no, you got it all. I'm like, holy smokes. So I learned from that. And there were things, this was a long time ago, and there was things that were not available back then that are available now that makes it a lot easier, a lot nicer, saves people money. So we go through all that as well. Someone that becomes a client of ours, we help them first off by teaching them how to get a good attorney. I have a list of questions that they need to ask that person, and they can go through as many as they want. They'll give you the first hour for free, so it doesn't cost you anything to do it. And then keep in touch with me. And there's things like, don't talk to them on the phone. Go in their office. See what the atmosphere is like. See if they have pictures of the family on their desk. See if the assistant or whoever is you see when you walk in the door is nice. Just get the feeling for it. Is there a lot of stress, or are they a nice bunch? They're just there to help you. I mean, where are they coming from? So with the list of questions that you have, you'll know if it's going to work. And if it doesn't, then you have to be strong enough to get up and leave and go to the next one. And there's no limit on how many you can see till you find the right one. But this is very important because you're putting your future in that lady or man's hands. Because however this comes out, that's how you get to live for a long time. So you want the best, you want someone you trust, and you want something that's comfortable. What we do is mostly give math advice. I don't give law advice. I'm not an attorney. I'm not allowed to do that. And that's fine, because divorces come down to two things. One is finances and one is the kids. So if you can get the finances straightened out so that you know what you've got, you know what's right, you find something. If something's very wrong, we find that, and then we go from there. The same information that I'm going to give you, the attorney would give you. So this saves you a lot of money if you fill it out with us, because our fees are so much less. Attorneys' fees average $300 to $500 an hour. We are 165 an hour. We do the same thing. But we also have an advantage where we've been down this road before and we know what to look for. The attorney does not fill out this paperwork himself. He's busy with court and other things, so he has one of the assistants do it. But you're still charged the same amount of money, be it $300, $400, $500. So right off the bat, I'm saving him $3,500 and doing the same thing, but aware of more things that the clerk is aware of. So I had a case where I got the statements, the bank statements, and I was looking at them, and there's just something that's not right. You get this gut feeling. And so I kept going. And when I talked to the husband, he was the one I was working with. And I said, "Who's the gourmet cook in the family?" He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, there's a lot of charges here at the grocery store." And this was a long time ago. So the amount of money, somebody's doing a lot of cooking. He goes, "I don't cook and she can't boil water. So we eat out or we have the food delivered." So I went back and looked at everything, and what the attorney or the clerk might have done was look at these statements, and about the same amount of money went out each month and the same amount went in, and it was the checking account that they used to pay the household bills. So when I got to looking at it, she went to the grocery store, bought something for a couple of dollars, and took $100 out as cash because she was using the debit card from this account. So when I went through all of it, where's the money? So it had to be in a safety deposit box. So fast forward, I talked with the attorney, and after we got all that straight, and I said, she's got over $100,000 somewhere. And I showed him how I found it. So we found the safety deposit box, subpoenaed everything, and there's the cash. And then later she got wrapped up with some money laundering, and I think eventually she went to jail. And he wanted the kids so bad, so he got the kids because mom's in jail. So I don't think someone that's like a clerk or an assistant would have maybe picked up on all of that. And we've got a whole list of different types of accounts, divorces, that we found things like that made all the difference in the world. Because he's not paying child support, he's not paying alimony, he's got his kids, and he's a good person. And I was really happy that I mean, I'm sorry for her, but really happy that it worked out like this for him. So that's one example of the things we do.
That's incredible. It really is. Just so you're a part-time detective as far as your role working with clients.
Yes, and I watch Matlock and I eat hot dogs, and that just adds to it and makes it even better.
There you go. So tell me this, Kathy, what is the difference between a good divorce attorney and a bad divorce attorney? Can you give me examples?
If you walk in and the first thing they tell you is how much they charge, not what can I do to help you, that's a hint right there. Listen to the questions that he may ask you. Go through the questions that you're going to ask him. And if you find someone that says, "Oh, based on what you said, here's what I think," and they'll give you their opinion, that's okay, because he could change it when he sees more information. He's going to tell you how long it should take. He'll ask you certain questions about, is there money missing? And he wants to know assets. Do you own rental property? Do you own your home? All that. And we'll have all that in the book for you. Liabilities are you getting ready to declare bankruptcy? Anything like that that's going on. Those should be kind of key questions. And then with the book that we put together that has copies of all this stuff, highlights of everything that is suspicious. When he sees all that, then he can take it and run with it with a private investigator, or he may know, just subpoenas on things that sometimes can do it and get to the bottom of it. And then a lot of divorces are just, we hate each other, we don't want to live together, sign the paper, here, we're done. And that's fine, but people that do it themselves always come back to where there's a problem later. So you really want a professional attorney to do it right, file it right. I had one person where they were still married and didn't know it because they filed it themselves, but they didn't do it right, so it was never recorded. So they're still married. Now they're guilty of bigamy, but they're getting divorced from the second one when they weren't divorced from the first one. So that was a mess.
Oh
So
my
you
gosh.
don't want to do that. So it's worth it if you get an attorney that will ask you the right questions just to make sure, because you may think that this is going to be simple. I thought that it went on for 2.5 years, and I knew what I was doing, and it still went on for 2.5 years. And I know people that they get along great in the beginning. We're not going to spend a lot of money on this, and $250,000 later, attorneys, because they've had to change attorneys a couple of times for different reasons. And I had one case where the wife declared bankruptcy twice so she wouldn't have to pay the attorney. So that was bad. So it's every situation you can possibly imagine can happen. And when it starts out great and calm, that's fine. But don't expect it to end up like that.
Wow. So are there any examples where attorneys maybe have dropped the ball, where you've been able to pick up the pieces and help the client out?
Yes. And first, I want to know why they did it. I would question them and say, what's with this? And whatever the answer is, would say, my next phone calls to the client saying, you've got to get rid of this guy. You've got to get a different attorney. This is not good. This is not working out. And part of the problem I have found, not all of them, because there are some very good attorneys out there, but when you think about it, they get paid per hour for what they do for you, and that's going to be their income. When you look at someone like another type of attorney that does Morgan and Morgan, for example, they specialize in when you get hurt in car accidents and that kind of stuff. Whatever your settlement is, they get 40% of that. So of course they're out there doing everything they can to get you the best results, the most money that they can, because they know they're going to get 40%. Divorce attorneys know they're going to get X amount of dollars per hour. So another red flag is, here's a bill. What did you do that I owe you $15,000 more when I've already paid you 10? And they have to keep a log on, went to the courthouse, the court was this much, and uh, it lasted this long, so we were there for 3 hours, and that kind of stuff. And if they can prove it, that's fine, but I would question anything that comes anywhere close to that. And one of the problems to watch out for is those that are charging $500, $700 an hour. There's one here in California that charges $1,400 an hour. And these people that charge all that, they're out getting new clients. So when it comes time to go to court, it is not unusual that they will send their assistant, not them. This is in front of the judge representing the client, and you sign a paper in the beginning saying that's okay with you. That's not okay. You want who you're paying the $500 an hour to be there and to represent you. That's what you got him for, not a clerk, not an assistant, not a paralegal. You want the real thing. So that can be a good question to ask. Am I going to get the real thing? And if not, then I need to know that now.
Wow, wow. It's like going to an Ivy League school and paying $100,000 for a place like Harvard or Princeton or Yale and being taught by graduate assistants rather than the tenured professors.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
not exactly getting your money's worth there. Are there situations where you've seen couples that have gotten turned around on things that ended up, spending a dollar to save a dime kind of
Yep.
situation where they've lost focus and you've had to kind of redirect them?
They get, especially the ladies, they get so involved in materialistic things. One of them I'll never forget. They went back to court because the husband wanted the bedspread. She wanted the bedspread. They bought the bedspread in overseas when they went on their honeymoon. They were spending $25,000. It went on and on because she wouldn't shut up about the bedspread. So I got her and took her outside and I said, what are you doing? let the bedspread go. Well, I'm not giving it to him. And I'm like, listen, you bought that overseas on your honeymoon. Every time you look at the thing, you're going to think of him. You don't want to do that. You want to take the money you're paying the attorneys, you want to go on a new trip somewhere new and buy a new bedspread and come home and put it on the bed and say, look how smart I am. That's what you want to do. So she finally decided, okay, you're right. And so that was the end of the day. The 25,000 going to the attorney and the bedspread.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy. I understand that you actually are, it was a story that you told me earlier where you actually were representing the wife and the husband was hiding the assets and you were able to track down the assets. And I wonder if you could share that story with us.
Sure. The husband had a business and he sold it and he got cash for it. We knew that because he opened his mouth and was bragging how he was going to have all this cash. Well, half of that's the wife's. So he said, well, I really didn't get that much. I just broke even after I paid the bills, blah, blah, blah. Well, we knew better because we could subpoena the bills and the suppliers and all that stuff. And no, that's not true. So we had a private investigator that I know, and we thought about where could he have the money. So his mom lives in Canada, has a safe, a wall safe in her house. So the attorney was able to get the private investigator and all this other stuff. So anyway, they got in there, and the money was all in the mom's safe in cash in Canada.
That's pretty good. And now I understand why you watch Matlock.
Oh yeah, I try to outguess what he's going to come up with.
That's good. So tell me this then, when people are going through this process, there's a thing called a quadro. Can you explain that process and how that works?
Yes, Quattros have only been around since the 1980s, early 1990s. And when a couple gets divorced, the used to be normal, but not so much anymore. But they will go with the used to be. The husband, they decide they're splitting the assets, so he's going to get the rental property and he's going to give her half of his 401k, and that would come out to be about the right same amount of money because he wants to keep the rental. She doesn't care. So for him to give her half of his 401k, and this applies to any type of retirement vehicle. So if you work and you have the 401k, 403b, regular IRA, Roth IRA, any of that stuff, and you can give it to the spouse, but it comes out of your retirement account that you have, so therefore it's taxable. If you're not 59 and a half, you got another 10% tax on top of that. Thank you to the government. So if a quattro is signed, and it's got to be, usually when I do them, they're 17, 18 pages long, some of them, because I cross every I, dot, or cross every T, dot every I, make sure that if she dies before she gets the money, it goes to her kids and all this stuff. So the both participants will sign it. The judge has to approve it. And then after he approves it, I get the copies back. Everybody gets copies. The original goes to the company where he works if it's his 401k. And I go through a whole process with them to get the money sent to him, and he sent to the wife directly if I can. And then work with her about what are you going to do with the money? Here's what I know, everything you've got. So let me tell you what we need to do. And you have to remember that if you get this money, this is a retirement vehicle. So if you take money out after you invest it, then you've got taxes to pay. If you're not 59 and a half, another 10% penalty. So you want to leave this alone. This is your future. Now, if you're really stuck and you owe the attorney, for example, take 10,000 out, pay some bills, pay the attorney, pay the taxes, and then leave the rest alone. And hopefully it'll be invested in certain things that it grows and it'll make up for what you took out and you'll be fine. But the husband does not have to pay taxes or the penalty, the 10% penalty on it. And there is a place on the income tax that says, did you take money out of your retirement? Was a Quadro performed? And it used to be you had to attach a copy of the Quadro with your income tax when you sent it in. And now the government's got too much paper, I guess, so they eliminated that. But they asked for the account number. So it's pretty easy, and all that stuff's all in the Quadro. You just have to copy it and you're good.
Okay, so tell us again what exactly Quadro means. What is it's an acronym, but what does that acronym
Right.
mean?
Qualified Domestic Relations Order. And it has order in there because the judge signs it and it is his order and it has to be done or you're in contempt of court.
Okay, okay, excellent. So let me ask you this then, with that whole process, then what happens with assets, let's say money that's not in an IRA or some other qualified asset, IRA, 401k, 403b, so forth. What happens with those assets? I'm talking about brokerage accounts, property, etc.
They would have to come to an agreement about who got what. And sometimes, quite often, I know in Florida, this is a rule. You go to mediation before you go to have a judge decide it because the courts are so backed up with divorce cases, it's like nuts. So a mediator and what happens is the two attorneys go, the two parties go, and the mediator is there. Now you got to remember you want to settle this thing because you're paying your attorney $300, $400, $500 an hour to sit there and listen to this mediation stuff. Plus you've got to pay the mediator. So this can get expensive. You're talking maybe $800, $900 an hour, $1,000 to split the assets. So if you can work it out ahead of time, even if it's attorney to attorney, it's cheaper and faster. So if the two parties can work it out where it makes sense, because the judge is going to read all of this stuff and he's going to rule on it. And I've seen him where it's come back and he doesn't like this, he doesn't think it's fair, and they have to go back and change it. So, but anything that is an asset, be it the family home, are they somebody gonna live there, buy the other person out? What's it worth? What's the equity in it? What are the payments? What the taxes? What's the insurance? So we get all of that stuff. So it's very clear to the attorneys and the judge, this is the value. This is what you can pull it up online to see what the taxes are in this county. And we have it down pretty much to the penny. Between that, if there's rental properties, if they have a car, we state that each person will keep their own car and we have the type and year and make and all that on it. If they have brokerage accounts, if they have cash, if they have CDs, any of that stuff has to be listed so that there is a choice of where does it go? Where does it stay? And then that can get wrapped up with the real estate because if the husband wants the house, for example, he can buy the wife out and move the brokerage accounts, if there's enough money in it, over to her. Then he doesn't have to come up with the cash to do it and she gets paid.
So on that note, would mediation also cover the Quadro, or does it still have to go to the court in order to be legally enforceable as far as that goes?
The mediator can help them decide what to do based on all of their assets and liabilities. Don't forget the liability part too. If they've got high credit cards and that kind of stuff, or they refinance their house and now they've got 2 mortgages or whatever that is. But she can work that out and they'll tell me with copies of the 401k statement, for example, he's going to, if it's got say 400,000 in it, he's going to give her 200,000. And that's going to make up for the rental property that he wants to keep, and she'll sign that property over to him. And that kind of takes that, but you don't need a Quadro for the regular accounts. It's just the IRA retirement type accounts is the only reason you need the Quadro. If they decide that if the wife, for example, is not aware of taxes and things like that, and she wants the rental property, but she said, I want it, but I think I'm going to sell it, then sell it before you get divorced. have it in writing that this is going to her, but because the capital gains taxes is cheaper if you do it when you're divorced because you've got two people versus one person, and you'll pay less taxes and all that. If you're going to sell it, do it then.
Mhm. Wow, that's very interesting. So do divorce attorneys typically advise their clients on things like that, or is that something that you do as a financial advisor?
Oh no, they hate it. You can't tell an attorney this, but they don't know math. They know law. They're supposed to know law. They're supposed to be good at the laws and keep up with the changes and all that, but they do not know math. And so we know math, but we don't know law. So it makes for a nice complement to each other. But what happens is attorneys look at us as I'm taking business away from you. I'm not taking it away from you. I'm making it easier for you to get a better settlement for your client to do the right thing. And that will help you because you're going to get a great reputation. Not that he screwed me over, but that he went the extra mile to make sure I was taken care of. That's what people want to hear. And you can put it all over Facebook and anywhere else you want, either way. He screwed me over. He wouldn't listen. He doesn't know how to add two and two, or he did the right thing. He has someone that he works with, and that helped him to find things that we didn't know about, to work out more of a fair settlement and things like that that involve, math, basically.
Hmm. So as complicated as all of this is, disposing of the assets and separating that in a fair manner, how long does it typically take for someone to get divorced? Like, does it vary state by state, or is it just based on the complexity of the estate itself?
It's kind of a little bit of each because if the courts are backed up, that's going to take longer. It can be you go in and you talk to the attorney and he says, well, I was hoping to get it done by the end of the month, but they're 3 months behind. So you're stuck with this 3 month behind business. And then when you have things happen where maybe one of the persons kidnapped the kids or they just can't find the money, or I mean, it can just go on and on and on and be dragged out. I kind of think when I look at all of it, to say 2 years is not unreasonable to expect. And if all the dots are done and you have all the statements and it's kind of clean cut and they've agreed to most of it, but they're going to attorneys, the attorneys say, yeah, he's in agreement with that, she's in agreement with this, then they can set a date and get on the docket in the court so that they can be put in front of Judge so and so, and judge will have copies of everything and what they propose, and both sides do too. He'll ask them, "Did you agree to this?" They say yes, and then he takes the time to read it later, usually, and then he'll call you within a couple days and say, "I agree with everything. I signed the documents. You can pick them up whenever you want." So, but
Okay.
that's kind of rare.
So I know that you mentioned a lot of attorneys will charge anywhere from $300 to $500 per hour. Should you expect to pay a divorce attorney in a normal uh, settlement? Well, what
I
would be
would
a typical?
I'm in California, but I'm finding a lot of the other places it's the same way. But if you get in the bigger city where it's bigger, um, more professionals with more money, we have the Kardashians out here. I wouldn't touch them, but there it's Silicon Valley, so attorneys know that, so they're going to charge $800-900 maybe, or the lady in LA that's 1,400. For the average person, I would say if you can find someone for $300 to $400 an hour, you've got someone who is probably going to do a good job for you. But there's those out there that don't, and that's when you have to figure it out. They are going to want at least $5,000 up front before they'll take your case. They all take credit cards, so that kind of makes it easy. But then they'll send you a statement every month that we've eaten up the 5,000. We need an additional 5,000 because we haven't even gone to trial yet. And when they say we're going to trial, don't think you're going to be charged for murder. Well, unless you do something extra here. but it's just a word. It just means you're going to go in front of the judge. They don't freak out about that. They call it that because there's nothing else to call it until they come up with the new attorney-driven word that means we're going to trial.
Okay. So would it make financial sense in terms of the attorney fees for them to hire a certified divorce financial advisor before they hire the divorce attorney?
Yes, yes, because you want to walk in when you decide this is the guy you want or gal you want. You want to walk in, you want to have a check or your credit card to do the 5,000, and we are going to put together a book, and you're going to hand it to him, and it's going to have everything he needs to call the other attorney and say, we're ready to meet. Because
Okay,
any
so it's
questions, yeah, any questions are going to be in there, everything. And having been through this, I know exactly what they're looking for. And he will hand her a booklet that has where this is where you put your assets and this is where you put your life. Well, we've done all that. So don't pay him $400 an hour to do what we've already done for 165.
okay. So typically, how long does it take you as a CDFA to complete the book and inventory everything before they meet with the attorney? And how much
If
do they end up paying for that over that period of time?
We charge 165. It's about 10 hours that we put into it, and that's all phone calls, Xerox, and putting the book together, going over stuff, calling and say, I'm missing this, I'm missing that. Scan it, send it to me. So once I have everything, we can finish it within 3 days.
Okay.
And Quattros, we can usually do them like if I get all the information, I would say 1 week. And that's from what I understand with the ones I've done in California, the attorneys can't believe it because it takes 6 months for other people to do it. Now, what are they doing in 6 months? Are they that busy or what? This, I think that's a wrong thing to do because you're the person that's getting the money. They are, you're doing it just a bad thing to them because they deserve that money and they don't need to wait 6 months to get it. So it's and maybe they're in cahoots with the guy that's given up the money. I don't know. But I get those usually a couple weeks we're done. And for the other, if once we get all the information, we just sit down and we don't do anything else till this is done. So I say 3 days, sometimes it's the same day or the next morning, we're done. But I go
Okay.
over so many times because you don't want to get in front of a judge and realize you made a mistake. So you go over it and over it and over it. If you wake me up at 2 in the morning and ask me how much was the house worth in Smith versus Jones, I'll tell you it was $369,000, but they owe $200,000 because I've got it on my brain. All this, is this right? Did we check it? So I haven't had one yet that came back and said, this isn't right or this is wrong. They've come back and said, wow, we never would have looked for that. And that's the part that makes my job interesting because I'm always looking for where is that thing that they're not telling the truth, they're hiding it, like the lady at the grocery store. So $100,000. I mean, look where she's at now. So
Yeah. Wow. So let
attorney,
me ask you this, Kathy. Once people get through this whole process, they get the settlement and the dust is cleared from the settlement. Have you seen people who have made mistakes with the money that they received as part of the settlement on the back
yeah,
end?
yep. We have to sit down and have a plan before I even give them the book to give to the attorney and say, if you get this, this is what you need to do. Now, it works for people that are mature and you talk to them and this is your future. If you don't do this and when you get to be 15, 20 years older and Social Security has been cut, Medicare has been cut, you can't afford all this, but if you would have done what we agreed to, you would have been fine by now. So I know it sounds like it's never going to get here, but I promise you it will. And who knows what it's going to look like when it does. And you have to stick with the plan and we'll tweak it, as you go along. But for right now, this is where you need to be. The ones that are useless are the young kids in South Florida. they were married for, you know, a year and a half, and I did a quattro, and she got $5,000. So I said, we need to, this is not a lot of money. We need to put this someplace so it can grow, and you need to add to it. Oh no, I've got my friends, we're going to the Bahamas and we're taking pictures, and I'm sending it to my ex and say, I'm so rid of you and look at what good time I'm having. I said, yeah, and the ex is going to say, what an idiot you are to take that money. You're paying taxes. You're paying 10% penalty. You're not getting $5,000, 10% right off the bat's going in penalties, and the rest is going to be taxable income. And that could put you in the next bracket.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
got a picture in the Bahamas. She went, that was that. But yeah, they're 20-something years old. You can't tell them.
Well, so as a CDFA, then you're not only working with the clients through the divorce, but you're also working with them after the divorce. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes. So I'd like to keep in touch because she's going to get married again. And it's going to be, okay, do we need a prenup? Prenups are expensive, but they can be worth their weight in gold, but they've got to be done right. Who are you using for it? And to think about it, keep things separate. And when they get divorced, it's important, and most people do this now anyway, have one or two credit cards in just your name, have a bank account in just your name, to start that separation part so that you've got your own stuff, he's got his own stuff, and then things are easier to handle that way. Because when the check gets transferred, you want to have a place to put it.
Okay. Now, Kathy, you put together a short document that I found this really interesting, and it's called Preparation for Divorce. And it outlines the steps that someone needs to go through to prepare for that process, and how to navigate the divorce, how to find an attorney, what they should expect to pay in fees, and so forth. And so we want to make this available to those people who participated in today's webinar and who may have additional questions. Now, folks, if you have heard something here and you would like to meet with Kathy, she would be willing to meet with you on a complimentary basis for the first hour. And so what you need to do as part of that process is contact your representative with First Son, and they will arrange for that visit with her. And you can talk with her about your specific situation, and she can provide that document for you as part of that conversation. But Kathy, thank you so much for your time today. This has been very, very informative, and I have to say, also a little drama. So there's a little soap opera element to this whole thing, but I know that this is a very difficult time for people to navigate, and having someone like Kathy with her personal experience as well as her decades of experience working with clients could be invaluable to you. Thank you for your participation, Kathy, and thank you everyone for attending, and we will talk with you shortly on our next webinar. Take care, everyone.
Thanks so much. Bye now.